Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Gopi श्री राधा माधव हरि भगवान की जय। साई गौर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासां ततो जयमुदीरये। भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति नैष्टिके। कृष्ण वासुदेवाय नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो नैत्राय विनोदिने सुधापान शालिने वनमालिने महास्वरूपास्त्वं कृष्णप्रियासी प्रेमभक्ति प्रदे देवी राधिका त्वं नमोस्तुते। आनन्दलीलामय विग्रहाय हेमांग दिव्य छवि सुंदराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय Shri Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Ramaya Bhadraya Sitaya Pataye Namaha Nathaya Ragunathaya Shri Ramachandraya Te Namaha. Hare Krishna. Today, rather than discussing from 9 processes of devotional service, we'll discuss about the wonderful pastime of Sri Lord Ramachandra, which happened yesterday. That was on the day of Dasera. This word Dasera derived from Dashahara. Dashahara means the person who had a 10th face. He got defeated yesterday on the day of Dasera, which is also known as a Vijayadashmi, the 10th day on which Lord Ramachandra became victorious and he killed Ravana. In another way, disappearance day of Ravana that we are celebrating. Lord's all the pastimes, whichever, whether he is taking birth, stealing butter, stealing gopis' clothes, or killing any demon, all these pastimes, they are transcendental because they take you out of this world. And that's why the celebration is known as a Utsava. What is the meaning of Utsava? Sorry? Ut means rising. From what? Sava means sufferings, sorrows, mental agony. So Utsava means which keeps you high, not by taking LSD, but hearing wonderful pastimes of their Lord. Somebody may ask that killing someone, do you think it's a celebration that you should celebrate on that day? And that up to a person who was a Brahmana. But Lord Ramachandra, who is considered as a Maryada Purushottam, whatever he did, he never crossed his limits. He followed all the rules and regulations, whatever has set up by the Dharma Shastras. Lord Krishna is known as the Leela Purushottam. He never followed any limits. He gone beyond the words and he executed the things. But Lord Ramachandra, he never did that. Whatever he has done, it was done in the boundaries and limitations of Dharma. Even when he fought with Ravana, he also followed the Dharma. He respected Ravana before killing him. He gave a chance to Ravana. Still you have a time. I'm giving you that. Consider. But Ravana started speaking so bad about Lord Ramachandra. Lord heard that. He said, see, you are elder than my father. And I don't expect a person like you who is such a tremendous knowledgeable. Because Ravana was well known for his knowledge in Vedas, especially in the Samaveda. When demigods, sometimes when they used to perform yagyas, they used to call him to recite mantras because he was knowing proper meters of mantras. If you know the classical music, he was the first person who invented Rudra Veena. He was expert in that, playing that Veena. 7 demigods, they used to call him Father. Being a son of a Brahmana, Vishrava, and who was the son of Pulatsya, he was a great scholar. Generally, people they ask, nowadays so much chaos is going on in the society. Huh? Why Lord is not appearing now to take care of this? But Lord never appears to kill mosquitoes or bedbugs. He comes to kill those personalities who are really powerful. There is one full chapter in Srimad Valmiki Ramayana about the glories of Ravana. Can you imagine? How powerful he was, what are the abilities that he had, but only one thing he lost. And because of that one thing, he destroyed himself and his whole dynasty. And that was his ego. Kama, lust, everything got destroyed because of it. If you read that, you will come to know that he was more qualified than any person of that time. He was a Vedic scholar, he knows all the arts, he was powerful by strength, by austerity, everything. When Hanumanji, in search of Mother Sita, he entered into Lanka. So unknowingly he entered into the inner chambers of Ravana. And he saw that chamber was full of beautiful women. And midst of them, one person was lying, and his body was proportionate. He had very attractive but chocolatey color. And when for a second, when Hanumanji saw him, he said, "Who is this handsome fellow?" Anyone can capture by seeing his beauty. When the Hanumanji was brahmachari, when he looked at him, he said, "What a handsome person he is." Then what to speak of others? What would have been happened with the women when they saw him? His bodily luster was excelling everything, being a Brahmana Putra. But due to the demonic mentality of Ishvara Bhava, he failed. Whenever you have this Ishvara Bhava or enjoying propensity, that kills all the good qualities that you possess, that are taken away. See, amongst the chaste women, after Mother Sita, whose names come? Mandodari. How many are there? Does anybody know that shloka? But if I ask 20 years back who was there in that picture, easily it will come out. No? That's the age of Akali. Married woman, if they remember these 7 mothers, their husband will live long. That's what the scripture says. And that's why in the Pratha Smarini or Pratha Vrandana, they recite their names. Ahalya, Gautami, Tara, Sita, Mandodari, Tataha. Draupadi, Rukmani, Shri. These are considered as a sati, pavitra. By remembering them, one can increase his longevity. Mandodari, she once, as per the Ananda Ramayana, she once goes to Ravana, and she is one of the most beautiful women of that era. And she asks, "Why you are doing this? You are the knower of Vedas. You have all the knowledge. And you know that Mother Sita is our mother, the source of all the beauty in the universe. And you have millions of wives." He had literally millions of wives he had. He said, why you are behind her? And you know who is Lord Ramachandra. He is your worshipable person. Ravana there he says, yeah, I know that. Previously when Sanak Sanatan and Sanandan Chaturshkumaras they came, they instructed me about this. But do you know, it's for the pleasure of their lordship I am enacting this pastime. Because my Lord would like to set up an example that whoever you may be in this material world, however powerful you may be, once you forget their lordship and tries to lord it over the material nature, you are destined to get destroyed. And that's what has happened. He said, I am just enacting my role. I know he's my master. As per the version of Dakshin Bharat Ramayana, once Ravana, he went to Sutal. Sutal is the place where Bali Maharaj stays, still today. So he went there and he said, see, you are our king, Daityaraj, and you are most powerful personality. So I have come to you and I need your help. Then Bali Maharaj said, for what? You know, we have started fighting with Rama and he has killed so many of my soldiers, commander-in-chief, even Kumbhakarna got killed. So now I want your help. You should help us out for that. Then Bali Maharaj said, yeah, I can help you out. But try to understand who is that personality. I advise you, don't take risk. Just hand him over his wife and get protection from him. Otherwise, you are destined to get destroyed, whether I help you or not. He said, no, you should help me. Okay, I will help you. Just go out on the southern side of my palace and just, there is one earring, you get it and come to me. If you are able to take that earring in your hands, I will come and help you. So he came out on the southern side of his palace and he was looking for that ring everywhere. He thought maybe small earring here and there he can get it. So he searched it everywhere, had a 20 eyes focused on the ground to search out for him. Sorry? And still he was not able to see where is that ring. She came inside, he said, I was not able to see where it is. Are you kidding with me that you are telling me to go and find out some earring? He said, yeah, just go and get that earring. He said, what? Yeah, it is there. He said, no, I'm not able to see anything. He said, have you seen any mountain like a thing there, which has a diamonds and studded with the different rubies and other gems? And he said, yeah, I saw one big mountain there actually. And it's like a limitless. I can't fathom it out. How big is that? He said, that's the earring of my great grandfather, Hiranyakashipu. That's just earring. Then can you imagine his size and shape? And he got killed by same Rama when he came as a Lord Narasimha. And how that earring fell down here, you know? When Narasimha tore him apart, he was not able to see him. Where is my great grandfather? Then he just shook his hand and my grandfather fell down from his nails. So you are trying to kill that person who has killed my great grandfather who was so powerful. So I can't help you for that. Just go back. But still Ravana, because of his ego and the karma that he had in his heart, he never got satiated by the advice given by Bali Maharaj. He came and he challenged. Actually, on the day of his actual fight with Lord Ramachandra, he was scared totally. Because whatever he tried, Everything got baffled. And he came to know that that's the end of my life. So when he got shot with Lord Ramachandra's arrow, he fell down on the ground because he had a Amrita Kumbha in his navi. And when that got destroyed, he fell down on the earth. So Lord Ramachandra asked Lakshman to go and you should learn something from him. Can you imagine that you can think that your enemy also has something to teach you? After killing him, Lord Ramachandra got done the prayashitta for our Brahma. So Lord Ramachandra showed all the limitation that one should follow. He never went out of his duties, his dharma, that one's supposed to follow it. And who assisted him for this? Now you came to the point. If you read Ramayana, Lord Ramachandra has thanked Hanumanji for helping him out in all this killing of demons, Ravana and all his associates. You will not hear much about anyone else that Lord has thanked for, but he thanked Hanumanji. Because same Hanumanji has appeared in Lord's different pastimes to help their Lordship to fulfill his mission. And what's the Lord's mission? His mission is to take back home, back to Godhead, all the conditioned souls like us. So for that he comes to establish religion, to kill the atatais, aggressors. But main mission is to take back home, back to Godhead, all the conditioned souls. That's the real mission of their Lordship. And to assist in that mission, Lord chooses particular divine souls who can do that, who are capable to do that. And one amongst them was appeared on Dasera, Vijayadashmi. And his name was Shripad Madhvacharya. When they offer prayers to Madhvacharya, they say, Pratamasto Hanumato, Vidyastu Bhimakarma Prakodana, Tridayastu Purna Pragyo Bhagavata Karya Pravartaka. At the first, he appeared in this world to assist the Lord Ramachandra to establish dharma, to kill the miscreants, and to establish the service attitude towards the Lord. How one can render service to their Lordship in the Dasya Rasa. Amongst the servants, the topmost servant is considered as Hanumanji. So, Pratamastu Hanumato. Dvitiyastu Bhimakarma Prakodana. Second one is Bhimsen, who appeared in Dwapar to assist Lord Sri Krishna. And in the age of Kali, he appeared as Purna Pragya, whom we called as a Madhvacharya. Bhagavata Karya Pravartaka. They are there to establish and propagate about the mission of their Lordship. So if you really want to understand about their Lordship and the science of Godhead, then you should learn it from the people who are expert in that. Generally, when you would like to become an engineer, you never go and join the medical college. You do that? No. If you want to become CA, you never go to some arts or commerce college. or science college, where do you go? You go to commerce college to learn that. So, same way, if you really wanted to know about the spirituality, where you have to go? No need. I myself can do that. Huh? I'm the expert, you know. I'm the exponent of this. We take it so cheaply. We think that there's no need for spirituality, you should go and get training from someone. When I start to speak something about Ayurveda with you, are you going to explain anything? It's like a Kala Akshar Bhais Barabar. Huh? But when I start speaking something about the Lord, everyone will open their mouth and they will give their own opinion as like they are a scholar in that. Huh? But if you really want to understand the science of Godhead, then there are institutes. And especially for the age of a Kali, because which is considered as the one of the worst yuga, where you will find worst kind of living entities who are going to take birth. Sorry to say that, because all we are there in this age of a Kali only. And we have great qualification that has explained in Bhagavatam. Anybody remembers that? No. That's the quality of age of Kali. But qualification of a living entity who has taken birth in the age of a Kali. Remember this shloka. It will help you. Prayena alpayusha kalau sabhya asmin yuge janaha. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upatrataha. These are wonderful qualities that we possess. What are those? Manda. Manda means lazy. Huh? How many are there? To be honest yourself, not to me. Everyone, including me. Manda. Then, on top of that, Sumanda. What is that Sumanda? Sorry? Su. Sumanda means they are confused. Why they are confused? Manda Bhagya. Because the greatest opportunity has given in this age of a Kali to liberate yourself from this material world. The most easiest way has given. What is that? Chanting the holy name of Lord. They have not asked you to leave your wife, your family and go to the Himalaya, put a langoti, sit there and just do dhyan dharana. You can't do that because that place is also not clean and safe now. In India, they used to go to Himalaya, but now all terrorists are there. Before 2 decades, all hero heroines were there for the filming and shooting everything. So where there is a cool place, or where is the place where they can concentrate their mind and do the sadhana? So it's not there at all. You can't perform any yajnas nowadays, do you? On the packet of a ghee, they write it down, pure ghee. That much adulteration is going on in each and everything. Ghee itself is a thing which is considered as a pure. Milk, curd, then butter, and then becomes ghee. And you have to write it down on that. Pure ghee. So what you are going to offer in the yajna then? On top of that, you will not find the brahmanas who can do that yajna. Because all brahmanas are here now, working in software companies. We have to find brahmanas to chant mantras then. Huh? And to paricharya means going and worshipping deities. That is also not possible. Once in a week, see how many are there. They don't have time to come once in a week to see their lordship. Forget about another thing. That is also not possible. That's why it is said that you should. What you can do? Wherever you may be, Just be there and chant the holy name of the Lord. Mothers, don't get scared. There is enough space, friend. Can you just move? Because if somebody comes, they can get some space to sit. Prabhu, Manoranjan, come here. Let your wife be there. All you can come back. That's it. So, Manda Sumanda Mateo Manda Bhagya Upadrataha. The main quality is that Upadrataha. Our mind is so disturbed, restless, reckless. We don't know yesterday morning in the breakfast what we have ate. How many of you remember? I think maybe like that. That is what our intelligence is. How you are going to remember all the Vedic scripture, Vedic text? Is it possible? No. And for that purpose, in the beginning of this age of Kali, Lord has given 4 acharyas who can propagate this Vedic knowledge. There are 4 sampradayas, which starts from the great personality. And if you get connected to that sampradaya, and there is a 100% assurance that you are going to get the shelter of the Lord. Not by yatomat tatopat, the way I want I can worship. No. There is a process which is established by their Lordship and propagated by His pure devotees. And what are these sampradayas? In the Padma Puran, there is a wonderful conversation between Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva. There she asked him, what is the most important thing that conditioned soul should do? And whom they should worship? Then Lord Shiva says, Aradhanam hi sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam param. Tasmad parataram devim tadyanam samarjanam. Amongst the worship, the topmost worship is worship of Lord Vishnu. And far better than that, the worship of Tadiya means the dear devotees of the Lord. And then he says, how to understand that? Because there are so many Tom, Dick, Harrys, they are coming up with their own philosophy, calling themselves as a Guru, Sadguru, this Baba, that Bhagwan. And they are claiming what they are giving, that's the right thing. But Lord Himself said, Evam parampara praptam rajarshyo vidu. If you want to get this knowledge, you should get it from parampara. And parampara starts from the Lord Himself. It's not created by some layman who has 4 defects in him. How many of you really know about these 4 defects? These 4 defects are with us, and that's why we can't create anything in this world. We have to just follow what Lord has given, because He is apaurushaya. Whatever He has given, that is apaurushaya, which is free from the 4 faults. What are these 4 faults? Cheating, the first and foremost, why we cheat? Because our senses are imperfect. And with the imperfect senses, we can't have a proper knowledge. Do you think so? If I close my hand very close to my eyes, am I going to see everything clear? Why? I have eyes, there is a light, it's my own hand, but I'm not able to see that. Why? Because anything that we perceive through our senses is relative. It depends upon some media. Here I need some proper distance, so there is some media through which I can. If there is no light, even though I have a vision, I have eyes, but because of absence of light, everything is darkness for me. So my senses are imperfect. Through these imperfect senses, am I going to get the real knowledge? No. Then what? I don't have a knowledge, but I pretend to have a knowledge. Then what I do? Cheating. I do cheat people. And everyone is aware of that. We are wasting 23 years of life to grab the knowledge which is totally useless throughout the life. Einstein, he says, first 23 years of life we waste to grab the things to learn how to waste another 30 years of our life. Which is not at all helpful. Because in the age of Akali, people will think that knowledge base which makes you able to fill your belly. But do you really think that to fill your belly, do you need this knowledge? How many of you are in the same, what do you say, branch, what you have studied? Even me, I'm not there. So where it's going to help you? Because it is based on the imperfect thing, it leads to imperfection only. So second fault is, defect is, we have a tendency to cheat. And because of that, what happens? We keep everyone in illusion, including our own self. And what's the last one?
Committing
What?
committing mistakes.
Imperfect senses, cheating propensity, always an illusion. Then what you will do? First mistake is taking birth in this world. Because when you come out, how they greet you? Do you think they come with a roses, scented sprays for you? How you are greeted? How many doctors are here? Huh? The first thing that you get in this material world is slap from either from the nurse or either from doctor or pinch from someone just to make sure that you are alive. Huh? They make you first cry. And we say generally, if you wake up in the morning and wife comes and starts nagging you, what do you say? यार आज पूरे दिन की बाट लगेगी सुबह से ही शुरू हो गया. You don't want it to start with the day with some negative things. But our whole life has started with that. What the first thing we have done? So what we will do throughout life? And we say, how are you? Very nice, I'm fine. Thank you. Ah, great. Here they say only, oh, great. What? In great sorrow or great happiness? I don't know. How's thing great? What? Because they know what should I tell. Unknowingly you say the truth. So because of these things, you can't perceive the transcendental knowledge. And that's why Lord says, that Lord Shiva says, Sampradaya Veenate Mantraste Nishpalamataha Atha Kalo Bhavishanti Chatvara Sampradaya Shri Rudra Brahma Kumar Utkalaste Kshiti Pavanaha. He says, if someone takes any mantra, because any sampradaya you go, they give you some mantra for your sadhana. Because mantra means the thing which delivers your mind. So if you take that mantra from any Tom, Dick, Harry who is having these 4 faults, what you are going to do then? Andha yathandor. If you follow the blind, where you will go? In the ditch. Destination is big gutter or maybe the chamber which is open, lid open. So, if you take mantra from anyone who is not in the sampradaya, it is said it is useless. Mantraste vipalaha. That will not bear any result. You may chant it for lifetimes, but it will not give you the desired result. Atha Kalo Bhavishanti. And that's why in the age of Akali, Lord himself has given Chatvara Sampradaya, 4 disciplic successions. One is Shri, which start from Mother Lakshmi, Shri Sampradaya. which is prominently known as a Ramanuja Sampradaya nowadays. Because Srimad Ramanujacharya was its exponent. Then Rudra. That Sampradaya starts from Lord Shiva himself. And Vishnu Swami was the exponent of that Sampradaya in this age of Akali. And nowadays that Sampradaya is known as a Vallabha Sampradaya. Because Vallabhacharya or Pushti Margi, most of the Gujaratis and few of the Marwadis, they follow this particular Sampradaya. Then there is a Kumara Sampradaya. And the leading Acharya of this Sampradaya for the age of Akali was Nimbarka Acharya. And then Brahma Sampradaya, which starts from Lord Brahma. Brahma gave that knowledge to Sri Naradji. Sri Naradji in his turn, he gave that knowledge to Vedavyas. And Vedavyas in his turn, he has given that knowledge to, in the age of Akali, Shripad Madhvacharya. So, one should understand that even the appearance of Acharya has explained in the Vedic text. They have not just popped up from somewhere. Who were their mother, who were their parents, where they will take birth, everything has explained in the scripture. So when you say someone Acharya, you should know Acharya is called to that person who was chosen by the Lord and about him already predicted in the previous year. Nowadays it has become, this word has become very cheap. People have made it cheap. They call anyone as Acharya. But Acharya means Achinoti Yatha Shastrartha. The person who follows the scripture as it is without any deviation and who establishes it for the benefit of common living entities. He is known as Acharya. He never pops up or comes up with any sort of things which he likes to follow his followers. He gives what has given by the previous Acharyas. He gives it as it is. That's why it's called as a Sampradaya. As explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, if someone takes a ripened mango from the top of the tree, if you have to get it safely on the ground, what you have to do? Just drop it from the top? What do you have to do? You have to pass it on. Same way, if you want to get the pure, intact spiritual knowledge, then you should get it from this disciplic succession, which has delivered as it is to the next generation, without any adulteration. And Shripad Madhvacharya, especially he appeared 900 years back in this age of Akali, to establish one particular philosophy which is known as a Dvaitavada, Dvaita Siddhanta. Because at the beginning of Kali Yuga, Lord appeared as a Buddha, not Gautam Buddha. People mistakenly take it Gautam Buddha as a Lord Vishnu's incarnation, but he is not. There is a Buddha incarnation. He came and he took away people from following the Vedic literature. Why? Because they were taking undue advantages of their caste system, their birth, and creating mess in the society. And as Lord has explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedesha sarve rahameva vedyo vedanta krita veda videvashaha. He is the only one person who can create Vedas, who can understand Vedas, and who can make understand Vedas to others. And only he can defeat the Vedic truths. No one else can do that. So he himself appeared as a Buddha and diverted people from the Vedic literature. But he gave the truth of Vedic literature. What is that? To take shelter of the Lord. And that's where Buddham Sharanam Gacha. That's what they're Dhammam Sharanam Gacha. Ultimately take shelter of Buddha. That they have did. Whoever has taken shelter of Buddha, they have attained Nirvana. But who have taken shelter of his philosophy, still they are struggling, fighting with each other. So, to eradicate that Buddhism from the Bharatvarsha, Lord himself asked Lord Shiva to appear. And as explained in the Padma Puran, where the Shivji himself said that in the age of a Kalau, in the age of a Kali, he will appear as a Brahmana and he will propagate the Prachanda Bauddha Shastra. That is impersonality. Just to get back the people again towards the Vedas. If you have to get them back, you have to show them some carrot. No? So what he showed them carrot? Aham Brahmasmi. You yourself can become God. Rather than worshipping some void, it's better to look at some person and who is that? That's me. I am the center of attraction. So people again they started coming back to the Vedic teachings. Then what happened? Now it is a fertile time to get back the living entities toward the Vedic knowledge by establishing the proper course of conduct. Then came same Lord Shiva, he appeared as a Vishnu Swami and who gave Sarvajna Sutra, his first commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which explains about Vishishta Shuddha Advaita. He explains about Shuddha Advaita. After 100 years or 200 years, then Ramanujacharya appeared. And he spoke about the philosophy of Vishishta Advaita. He established a relationship with the Lord through servitorship and worshipping Vaishnavas to get their blessings through which you can attain the Lordship. When he established that Vishishta Advaita, then came Madhvacharya with the precise corrections in the Vedic text. He gave Shuddha Dvaita. There is a difference between Lord and Jiva. They can't become one. And he was very strong for that. Whenever you see the deity or any picture of Madhvacharya, he is always like this. Duality. There is a separation, not like this. Everything is one. No, there is a difference. Jiva has his eternal position and Lord, he has his eternal position. Jiva can't be a Lord. Whatever he may do. His philosophy is Dasosmi. And Shankaracharya, he spoke about Brahmosmi or Aham Brahmasmi or Soham. That is I. But that's not the real philosophy of Veda. So Madhvacharya, he came. Actually, his appearance in this world is also very glorious. Because those days, there were only schools of Mayavadi teachers. And everywhere, throughout the India, length and breadth, Mayavad was very prominent. Then all the big Pandits and devotees, they were praying to their Lordship. Send someone who can establish the real truth with his power of intelligence and physical power also. So, Mukhya Prana, Vayudev, he appeared. In Udupi, the place in the Karnataka which is near to Mangalore, some 90 kilometers or 60 kilometers from Mangalore. At that place there is an ancient temple of Ananteshwara, Lord Ananta and Lord Shiva. So people, every time they used to go and pray, but send someone please who can save us from this Mayavad philosophy. And they used to say one Brahmana, his name was Madhyageya Bhatta. He had only one daughter, and for years together, they never had second child. And they were almost on the verge of their old age. And there was no chance now to get a son. But once he came to the temple of Ananteshwara, and there was a big festivity was going on. And one of the person who was expert in prediction, he that time said, after a few months you are going to get a person who is going to save you from all this hellish philosophy and condition of a life. And he is going to be the prominent Acharya of Vedanta Sutra. He will establish that rule which will give you the eternal abode of their Lordship. And after a few days, Madhyageya Bhatta's wife, Kalyani, she got conceived. And at a proper time, she delivered a boy. They kept his name Vasudeva. And Vasudeva, since childhood, he was extraordinary child. Because he had some purpose in his life. And to fulfill that purpose, he appeared. So since childhood, he started showing his own abilities. He was just like a month or so, or maybe 2 months old child. And his elder sister, she was there. So his mother got some urgent work, that housework she has to do. She was busy with that and she went outside for that. And at the same time, Vasudeva got so much disturbed and he started crying so much. So his sister was not able to understand what had happened to him. So as per the child's intelligence, she thought that he must be hungry, so he needs some to eat. So I should give, then he will become calm. So she was looking here and there and she saw some bag of a horse gram. She took that, put it in some small pot and kept near to the baby. And baby finished it off that. And again started playing. So mother came and she asked, then she told him that he was crying too much. And she said, what you did? I just gave him that horse gram. She said, now he is going to die. He does not have that much capacity to digest horse gram. That's meant for the horse, not for the kid or small infant actually. But nothing happened. Vasudeva was very fine. Because he is a Brahmodara. In previous birth he was a Bhima. And Bhima's Jataragni was of this size, of thumb size, of his thumb, not mine. So he was able to digest anything. So as Vasudeva started growing, when he becomes like a 2.5, or his father wanted to get done a Vidya Arambha for him. So he called him on the rice floor of the foot and he wrote down Ka, Kha, Ga, Kha and everything. And he asked him, just repeat this. And Vasudeva repeated everything. Next day again father wanted to teach him the same thing. He said, no need, go ahead. That is done already. I need some further. Then he was like a 3.5. He was sent to Gurukul. And there also he was a brilliant child. Whatever his teacher used to teach him, he used to speak something more than that. And he is always around, playing around the boys, kidding with them, making so many notorious things with others. So one day his teacher said, okay, now Vasudeva, you tell me, this is what I taught you yesterday. What do you think about this? Vasudeva gone beyond what he has not that also. And he spoke to that. He said, from where you got this? He said, nothing, I just heard it from you. He said, I never spoke this thing. I spoke half of that. From rest half, where you got it? He said, that's from last life. He got surprised. And like that, within the next 4 years, he was exponent of all Upanishads and other Vedic grammar, everything. And his teacher was like totally perplexed. What should I teach him now? The answer is education is over. At the age of 8, he was graduated. One day, it was very painful for him when he heard about the Mayavad. And at the age of 8, he decided to take sannyas. Can you imagine? An 8-year-old boy, he decides to take sannyas. And for that, what he did, from all the way, he was staying in Pajaka Kshetra, which is like a 25 kilometers away, or 35 kilometers away from Udupi Kshetra. He started walking there. He walked all the way and he came to the Udupi, and there was one Akshobhya Tirtha. Sannyasi was staying in Ananteshwara temple. And he came in front of him and he said, Swamiji, I want to take sannyas. And Swamiji was like 70 years old that time. He looked at him, he said, you're just a small child. Why do you want to take sannyas? The first answer he gave, I would like to establish the proof that Lord has a form and we have a relationship with Him. Lord is not formless. When he heard that, he got shocked because he took sannyas from the Mayavadi Sampradaya. And the Mayavadi philosophy is that Lord is formless. And he said, this boy, 8 years old, he's explaining that he's totally chopping out the Shankara's philosophy. He got scared. He said, here is the real enemy for the Shankara philosophy. But still he said, okay, I will accept you. But he said, at this age, you can't take sannyas. And if you really want to take sannyas, you need to have permission from your parents. Go and get permission from them, which was highly impossible. Because Vasudeva was the only son of Madhyageya Bhatta. So he said it is difficult, but he stayed there for 2 days and his father was searching out everywhere where Vasudeva has disappeared. So all the way from Pajaka Kshetra, he also came there in that matha. And he asked, Vasudeva, what are you doing here? Then he said, Father, I am going to take sannyas. He said, what? I should say that I should take sannyas. Now I am that old that I should take sannyas, but you are just, even you are not grown up even. You are just a child. But he said, no, I have decided I want to take sannyas. He said, but Vasudeva, you know that we don't have a son. And you are the only one son for us. He said, that's the condition? Okay. If you have a second son, I am going to take sannyas. Then he said, okay. And he prostrated. Actually, he was begging to Vasudeva, Vasudeva, now please, don't do that. I really touch your feet, but don't take sannyas. You have given me permission, you see, by touching my feet. Father only can touch feet of his son when he is sannyasi, and you have done that. So you have given me approval to take sannyas. But still he says no. Let my mother has a second son, and after his birth, I am going to take sannyas. So Madhyageya said, okay, that's fine. To have you, it took 50 years, so have a second one also, no worries. But by Lord's will, after 9 months, Vasudeva got a brother. And that day itself, Vasudeva took sannyas. So when he was 9 years old, he took a sannyas. And his sannyas name was Purna Pragya. As he stayed in the ashram, he was such a wonderful student. His spiritual master got too attached to him. And one day he was giving his narration on Bhagavatam. And there he chopped out the Shariraka Bhashya, the commentary which has given by Shankaracharya. So all the other students, they got disturbed. They said, how come this child, he is smashing and thrashing out the principles which are established by great Acharya Shankara. What he thinks himself. Then Unnaprakya, he said, I can explain that. What's the fault in this philosophy? And then he started smashing out each and every point. All they got surprised. Then they asked me, how do you know all these things? I said, it's just from the previous birth. So you remember everything from the previous birth? Okay. So have you read Srimad Bhagavatam? He said, must be. He just explained from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And here he started with the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered most toughest actually, because there is no shlokas. It's a gadya. There are paragraphs. And the whole cosmic creation has explained, and the whole Vedic cosmology has explained in that section of Srimad Bhagavatam. And fluently he spoke it out from there. By seeing that, his own spiritual master became his disciple. The 75 years old spiritual master became disciple of his 15 years old sannyas. 15 years? 15-year-old boy who has just taken a sannyas of 5 years of a sannyas. And he was so expert in Vedic philosophy. He asked his permission from his spiritual master. I wanted to go out now and visit all the Tirtha Kshetras to get or invoke the blessings of their Lordship. But his spiritual master was reluctant to leave him because he got so much habituated with the wonderful discourses that Purna Prajna used to give in the ashram. So he was not able to comprehend that. So he said, please don't go, be here. But he said, I have to go. He said, okay, you go. And first time Madhvacharya, he came out and he used to go and challenge this Mayavadi sannyasis. And he used to defeat them. Can you imagine, first time he went to the Kerala and there he challenged one of the Shankaracharya there. Because that time that was the main Pitha for the Shankaracharya there. And there they asked him that explain something about how Lord is not a avyakta and he is a vyakta. And he gave the whole narration on that. And there he explained about Vishnu Sahasranama. On each name he gave 100 meanings. Just count it. 100 into 1000. And that discourse went for the 9 days continuous. And everyone got mesmerized. Then few people, they tried to kill him also. But Madhva, being a Bhima in his previous life, he was that powerful. He was in Goa. While traveling, he came to the Goa. And there, just while before coming to Goa, he was in Mangalore somewhere. And there, 2 wrestlers, they were well known for their physical strength. They were challenging everyone there. And Madhvacharya was passing by them. So when he saw that need to be put them down actually, they are speaking too much about their physical strength. So he said, okay, what I can do, I will sit here. And he started singing the glories of their Lordship. And he just asked them, both of you choke my throat, press it with whatever strength you have. If someone comes and holds you, you can't speak. Huh? And here Madhvacharya, he was singing the glories of their Lordship, and both these wrestlers, they were trying best of their capacities to squeeze out his throat. They were perspiring, sweating like hell, but they were not able to even create some uneasiness for him to sing. And they got baffled, and they accepted, we are different. Then there was they gave something to it, Madhvacharya. How much do you know? He had 400 bananas and only 80 liters of milk. And he showed who is he actually. After that, he was traveling toward north, so he came to Maharashtra. There was one king, what he used to do, because since that time Maharashtra had a drought, so there never used to be water. So they were digging one big lake. So whoever stress passer used to come or ongoing people from his country, he used to catch them and used to engage them in constructing this lake. But Madhvacharya was so expert. He said, see, I am a sannyasi and this all my followers, they are also brahmacharis. They never did this labor work. But one thing is that we are brahmanas and if you teach us, we can do it. So can you teach us? I heard that you do it very nicely. Please, can you show us? So king took out his crown and all the abhushanas, kept it outside and he started digging. And he kept digging for days together. And Madhvacharya and his followers, they walked out from there. Then they moved. He came near to Delhi. And that time, when Badshah he was ruling there, he was a Parsi person actually. No, Arabic. No one was crossing the river because another side they were not allowing anyone. Whoever comes, they will chop them up. So Madhvacharya on the one shore of the river. And everyone was telling, don't go, don't cross this river. If you cross, they will kill you. I will take another 10 minutes. And he crossed. And when he crossed there, he reached there. He saw the commander-in-chief, he come in the front. And just looking at Madhvacharya, he never thought him as a sannyasi, he thought him as a great fighter. Because he was well built and powerful personality and has a teja of a brahmacharya, a great celebrity. First of all, he got mesmerized because he never seen such a person in his life. Because all they were sense gratified, they have not seen the real teja of any celebrity. So he got totally attracted to him. But he was not knowing any other language. He started speaking in Arabic and Madhvacharya started replying even in Arabic language only. He got stunned. He said, how come this person knows so much about our language? And he got so much happy with him. He said, I would like to offer my kingdom to you. Madhvacharya said, I don't have any interest for that. You keep it with you, but rule is nicely so that people can follow you properly. And from there, he said, just give us a proper way that we should go. And then he went to Badrinath. There, he submitted his first Gita Bhashya to their lordship, Badrinath. There, Vedavyas, he sat and he read that whole thing and gave his blessings to Madhvacharya and asked him to go and now write your commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Then Madhvacharya, he wrote his commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Second time when he went there to Badrikashram to submit his Vedanta Sutra's commentary, that time he went to the upper Badris where all the great personalities like Uddhava, Naranarayan Rishi, all they are staying. One of his followers, he wanted to follow him, but he was not able to go there because as you go on the higher levels, there is no oxygen. It becomes very rare. And he went to the upper Badri, which is beyond our consideration. And there he stayed for months together. And again, he got the teachings from Vedavyasa and he came back. He came back and while coming, he came from eastern side. So he came to Orissa. And Orissa at that time one king was ruling and he was very obstinate and stubborn. And he used to condemn Vedic philosophy. So there, he was condemning the power of mantras. And Madhvacharya showed him the power of mantras. He took one seed, put it in his hand, and he started chanting particular mantras in proper meter. In his hand only, that seed got fructified and that turned into the plant. He said, this is what the capacity of chanting mantras. And that king became his disciple, and his commander-in-chief became next sannyasi, Narahari. From there he again came back. He came back, he lived for 80 years. And he wrote commentaries on hundreds of Vedic texts. Especially his commentary on Taittiriya Upanishad is considered most powerful, which explains about the actual relationship with the Lord of each and every living entity. So once he was on the seashore doing his Madhyana Sandhya, he saw there is one boat coming from the ocean. There was some problem because of whirlwind. That boat was moving around here and there, and they were not able to stabilize it. So Madhvacharya was taking bath that time, and someone from the boat, they started shouting, looking at him for the help. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, आपको माइक दे दो क्या? Okay, thank you. So when he was on the boat, and they were just waving their hand and asking for the help, Madhvacharya, he just took his uttari, and being a Mukhya Prana, he just waved that, and that whole cyclone gone somewhere else. And that boat very safely came to the shore. So that person was carrying so much of gold and so much of ornaments. And he said, Swamiji, you have saved our life. Take whatever you want from our boat. He just looked at him and said, we are sannyasis. Why? What we have to do with all these things? If you want to really give something, I think I'm looking at that chunk. There was a chunk of Gopi Tilak. He said, this is what we can use because we put tilak of this mud. So give this chunk on it. He said, actually it is meant for balancing our boat. If we take it out, it will lose balance. But you have saved our life, take it. So some 50 people, they went there to lift that chunk. But it was too heavy to balance the boat. They got the really heavy chunk on that. And because they came directly from Dwarka. So they were not able to lift that. Then Madhvacharya asked few of his sannyas disciples also go and help them out. So they went, they took it out. Somehow other they brought it down, but while coming down, it fell from their hand and broke in two parts. As it broke up, everyone was stunned. What was there? There's a wonderful deities of their Lordship. Lord Sri Krishna with a churning rod in his hand. So other people, they saw that and Madhvacharya rushed there. They moved that chunk aside. But they were not able to lift it. It was that heavy. So Madhvacharya, he went. Who is he? Hanuman. He went very easily, took the Lordship in his hand. And while coming forth, he started singing. He wrote Dvadash Stotravali. If you hear them, you will go another world, literally. And there he glorified the wonderful qualities of the Lord. And then they brought it and they established that deities. And he established the way of worshipping that deities. He had 8 main sannyasis. In the center of the Udupi, they have the Mukhya Mandir, where they established or installed the deities of Lord Sri Hari. And around that temple, all 8 of his disciples, they have their own mutt. And he asked each of that sannyasi, each should take turn of 2 years and they should worship the Lordship. And he established the proper rules and regulations of worship of deity. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared to establish the Yoga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan, he took two principles from Madhvacharya's teachings. One is worshipping the deity form of the Lord, considering him, Krishna, as the supreme person. And second one, Mayavad Khanda, chopping out the philosophy of impersonalism. That two things Lord Chaitanya took from that, and he established this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, which we are following. And we are propagating about that same knowledge. So Sripad Madhvacharya is our own Acharya, by whose mercy we all are here today to discuss about the glory, the wonderful activities of their Lordship. So take a chance of that. Pray at the lotus feet of such a great Acharya. By his mercy, we can follow the path set up by them, which leads us toward the ultimate goal of our life. And that is, confused. Take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord. That's what Lord wants from us. Sarva dharmana parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. So that's what the ultimate sharanagati that we can take by following path set by them for us. Sripad Madhvacharya ki, Prabhu Ramachandra ki. Thank you. And I beg your pardon that I took another extra half an hour. Thank you.
Thanks very much.